Ladies and gentlemen, Hans Niemann is back. It's early 2025 right now, April specifically, and for the last 3 weeks, we had not heard from the man himself. Hans was supposed to play the second event of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Tour here in 2025. It was supposed to be in Paris, France. He was supposed to play players like Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen, and then he withdrew, and nobody heard anything. I have spent weeks asking people if they know anything that I can give the viewers, the chess fans worldwide, an update on. Nothing. He hasn't posted on social media, hasn't made any video, and he had been talking about not getting tournament invitations. So nobody knew what was going on, but he's back. There is a tournament going on right now in Germany, and it's an open. Top players, 2,200 regular masters, all playing against each other. Magnus is playing. Hans shows up, wins his first 2 games. Incredible games, by the way. I will be showing them to you. And on top of that, is there with his coach and friend Vladimir Kramnik. And here they are in a picture from earlier today. Shout out to Chess Base India for this photo with a young fan that's asking for a picture. And maybe Kramnik is asking for a little space. It's kind of a funny photo. He's back. No elaboration whatsoever. I don't think he's going to do any interviews. I wish we had any more clarification. But for once, the chess will speak for itself, in the words of Hans Niemann himself. So today, I will be giving you an update on some of the games that he played. Incredible games. I will show you 2 of Magnus's games. I'll give you a little update of this tournament. We got guys like Jan Nepomniachtchi playing, Fabiano Caruana is playing, and the winner of this tournament actually qualifies for the next leg of the Grand Slam Tour, which is going to be in Las Vegas in July, and maybe I will even be in Las Vegas in July. Okay, let's go. First time in history, I'm going to show you a Hans Niemann game before a Magnus Carlsen game. I mean, you talk about special positioning. So, you may look at this and go, why is the back row of pieces shuffled? That's because they randomly select the position before the game begins. That's just the rule of the tournament, and the position changes every single game. Game number 1, Hans is playing a German player, Andreas Ciolek, if I had to guess. And already on the second move, Hans is better because of the way that this works. White is trying to play d4. It would have been a little bit better for White to play a move like e4 or even f4 himself. Also, when there is a queen in the corner in this format, it's actually kind of funny. When there's a outside pawn like this, it's very common to advance it. Now I'm going to show you how Hans wins this game, sacrifices his queen, like absolutely just breathtaking game. So he plays e5. This queen move this pawn with the queen in the corner supports control of the center of the board. Knight to c2, knight to e6, and Hans takes the center, right? He puts 2 pawns in the center. Principal chess, controlling the center, you control the pace of the game. Just such a fascinating, like anything Hans does is fascinating. There has been rampant speculation about why he withdrew from the tournament. There was some article that came out that I criticized in the video that I made, something with the, with the security measures. Like I thought that was a ridiculous article. Then at the same time, I was like, maybe he had a family or personal emergency. I wish him and his family well. I don't know. But he hasn't said anything, which is kind of wild. My favorite is to observe the clips of all the players kind of sitting and interacting, and Hans kind of like off, like by himself. I would love to be a fly in the room, fly on the wall, not a fly in the room. By the way, he also plays like Magnus in this game. Magnus loves to transfer his queen from the corner in this format. He loves to dip the queen, forward and back in this game. Hans plays bishop d7 and finishes up the castling. And if he wanted to castle the other way, he would have needed to clear out the space. Now White has a little bit of a problem. White has overextended a bit. All right. Now, White can castle this way by moving both bishops. White can castle this way by just moving this bishop. That's exactly what he opts to do. But here, Black is better. Black is better because Black has kind of a remaining spatial advantage in the center of the board. And just kind of in the long run, White expanded all the way over here, but there's no king there. So you kind of took all the space, but you don't really need that space. And it feels like Black is going to maybe generate an attack a little bit faster than his opponent. F5, knight e4, comes to mind. Bishop g7, putting pressure over here. Queen will come to b6. It's not so clear to me. Like, if I didn't have an eval bar, I wouldn't think it's minus 1.7. But yeah, Hans plays the bishop to g7, white plays h5. And again, it's clear like white is trying to make progress on the side of the board where he has a bit more space, but there is no attack to be had. Hans plays queen b6. And like I've already said, yeah, like black's attack just sort of generates itself against the white king, whereas white's attack is not really generating all too much. Hans plays knight a4. He threatens checkmate. His opponent, Andreas, 2198 rated player, defends the checkmate. And now c5, right? Just trying to open things up. The bishop might go to this diagonal, hitting the queen. The bishop might go to this diagonal, right? You also might restrict your opponent. Anytime you have an opponent's king stuck in the corner like this, it's not only about the pawn that you can take, it's also about smothered mate. You have like all sorts of tricky ideas like this. You know, you can sacrifice material and trap the king in the corner. Just, you know, keep that in mind. Hans takes on e4, bishop c6, and now white is just totally lost. White is completely tied down here. He will probably lose material quite soon. And if not material, then again, when your opponent's king is stuck in the corner like this, and it looks like you can't take anything, oftentimes you can. Oftentimes you can. You simply can. You always have tactics when the opponent is desperately lacking space, and as long as you have reinforcements. If you're ever going to sacrifice material to attack the king, use the rule of +2, try to have 2 more attacking pieces, then they have defenders, knight takes e3. What I really love about this game is Hans started the game with 90 minutes on the clock. 90 minutes. By the 20th move, he has spent 15 of those minutes. Yo, he is a monster. Like, he is a terrible matchup because he plays fast and he plays well, okay? Knight takes c3 is a really nice move because after this, the opponent goes out in style. He plays bishop b2. He didn't have to take, but he spent like 7 seconds on that move because he knew it was over. And I think he kind of wanted to get mated by Hans. Bishop b2, queen takes b2. Hans Niemann detonating a queen sacrifice, back rank checkmate as none of white's standing pieces can protect the king. You could have even been down that rook and this bishop and won the game. Just an amazing game. And yeah, I mean, it shows you the level difference. White can beat 99.99% of you. White is higher rated, statistically speaking. FIDE is a FIDE rating. You know, so he's obviously even higher online than 99% of the people watching this right now. And he got his soul taken out of his body in this game, right? Like, I'm not making fun of the guy. I would have suffered the same fate. It's just crazy, like the levels, right? Hans played this game like a, I can't, right? It's tough to make compare. I was going to say like a machine, but you can't say things like that, you know? You can say it about Magnus, but then a crowd goes wild when you say it about guys like Hans. Anyway, in this game, we see the mistakes white made. Well, how about when Magnus gets the white pieces? So Magnus has that same setup in the first game. Then I'll show you another Hans game, another Magnus game. You guys have a great recap. Every single game is a Hans or a Magnus game. By the way, they might play each other. You know, this is a 9-round tournament, I think. So the more points they score, the more, you know, they're going to get close. And by the way, they're on opposite colors, right? Hans started the tournament with the black pieces. Magnus started with white. You keep flipping. So at some point, they might actually get paired against each other if they keep winning. That would be nuts. Oh my God, the cinema. The cinema would be spectacular. Now, yeah, let's see how Magnus handles the position. He plays g4, okay? b6 by the opponent, a mistake on move 1. Nothing humbles you more than shuffling your pieces like this and playing, you know, with a shuffled setup. Like, nothing humbles you more. By the way, remember how I said when there's a queen in the corner and a flank pawn supported by a rook, oftentimes a4, a5 is the best idea? Yeah, Magnus knows that. I mean, these guys already have picked up on some of the key, like, underlying ideas, because this way you target that side of the board with the queen and also the rook supports. I don't know, it's just a thing, okay? Also, I'm going to upload, I haven't uploaded it yet, but I will, so it might already be out there. There is a very funny moment in this game, which is probably the most demoralizing thing I have ever seen at a chess tournament. It's a clip of Magnus, well, you'll see. Magnus plays d4, also apparently a bad move. You know, apparently f4 is a better move. But anyway, didn't like it. d4, g6, Magnus plays like this. And, you know, he's doing typical Magnus things. He's kind of like, you know, Magnus is like a grappler, right? He's not a flashy striker like a kickboxer. He's not going to do a spinning wheel kick. All right, he's not going to do some crazy. Magnus is a, if you compare him to a professional mixed martial artist, is a grappling, wrestling first type of guy with good striking. He's like a Islam Makhachev, Khabib, Nurmagomedov. Like, if you get into an uncomfortable situation against him, he's going to beat you. It's going to be the same old story. But he's going to kind of control you. Like, he's going to kind of put you in all the wrong spots. Like, here he's asking his opponent, you know, what do you commit next? What's the next move? His opponent goes here. That was a bad move. Apparently, it was better to move pawns into the center first, right? Because now, with the knight standing in the middle, it's going to be much easier for white to exploit with the pawns. It's typical stuff, like pawns versus pieces in the center of the board. The pawns are going to win because pieces don't really have like an easy way to go. His opponent here already begins to feel the pressure and plays a move here that literally generates laughter out of his opponent. Now, so there's a clip, and like I said, I will post it. His opponent here could have played f6, e5, you know, kind of like tried to fight back, but it's really hard. It's really hard to fight back against pawns in the center of the board. His opponent goes here. Now, again, very easy to laugh at when you have this orange thing and then this. He sacrifices a bishop. Let me tell you something right now. Vincent could have done this against me. When you give up a bishop on the 9th move of the game against Magnus Carlsen, now his point was that after this, he gets 2 pawns and he might even get a 3rd pawn because he's attacking this, attacking this. You're going to get 3 pawns for the bishop. Problem is that this early in the game, even though 3 equals 3, 3 is not equal to 3. I know, very confusing. You don't have, your pawns are not going to be felt this early in the game. They're not, because they're so far back, whereas white's extra bishop will be felt. And also you're playing Magnus. When he took on d4, Jan Nepomniachtchi was watching the game and literally started laughing. That's the most demoralizing thing I've ever seen in my life. Bro straight up laughed at his move. At least that's what I saw in the clip. He might have been laughing at something else. he straight up cracked up. And that made Magnus laugh. There was a moment, Magnus sees Jan cracking up and has to bury his head. You know, like in class, your teacher says, like, the next person to talk gets detention. Your friend is looking at you across the room like this, you know. There's like, it's the meme. Your friend's looking across, and then you're just, you know, that's what it felt like. That's what this felt like. He does pick up the pawn, but Magnus very quickly wins it back. He now splits the pawns up, so it's 4 and 3, divide and conquer, and it's going to be really difficult for black to defend everything while also being a piece down. So the opponent feels the pressure early from Magnus, and definitely the nerves got to him. He actually just straight up resigned in this position because he just thought, like, no matter what I do, I'm going to lose. He's not wrong, but I don't know why he had to go out with the bishop sacrifice. But again, you feel the pressure when you play these guys, you know? The next 2 moves by Magnus would be this and this, putting a little bit more pressure. If you're wondering why black resigned, it's just really hard to make a move. Like, you can offer a trade of rooks. That doesn't even help because white would go here. And then if you play here to try to, you know, defend the pawn, white will play, like I said, king c2, anything, knight e4. Black has no moves. Black has no moves. For example, rook e8, take, f3. Just can't make a move. Like rook e6, I don't know, king c2, rook d1. Like, ultimately, you could even go all the way here. Magnus will win this. He's up a knight, right? So now I got another Hans game for you. You thought that game was good. I got another one for you. This is a game that he won today. He's already playing a grandmaster. Remember, you only play against people of the same amount of points as you. So he's playing Andrei Devyatkin, grandmaster. I've actually played him, and I've covered him on my channel as well recently. This time we get d4. This time the position is different. The queen is in the middle. It's not in the corner. So it's actually kind of likely that b3 and h4 could be an idea always, because remember, supported by the rook, diagonal attacker. Hans plays d4, d5 by the opponent, e3, e6. Devyatkin's like, all right, I'm going to copy you. How does Hans beat an experienced grandmaster, right? Who's not going to blunder in the opening, who's not going to get scared. You know, he's not going to buy into the aura of Hans Niemann. c4, black takes. Black just says, all right, we're going to trade the pieces and we're going to play a position that looks like a queen's gambit accepted. By the way, the structure absolutely resembles a queen's gambit accepted. d4, d5, dc4, c5, dc5. No queens. Black plays b6, activating the bishop. Hans drops this bishop back because maybe something is going to go to f3, and so does his opponent. The position is completely equal. Completely equal. White got nothing from the opening here. Nothing. Black is doing completely fine. Okay. Hans plays knight f3. Both guys castle. All right. White's next move is probably going to be knight e5, followed by some sort of bishop f3, followed by some sort of knight to b5. And I think here Devyatkin was like, well, white is going to get a lead in development against me and then potentially utilize that, in putting pressure on my position. He took on f3 here, which is a huge decision. He spent 15 minutes on that move. He could have probably played like knight c6, but I'm sure he didn't like something. He didn't like that he's behind in development. He didn't like that it's going to take him a little bit of time to get out. And it's not easy to play a move like knight f6 because white always has rook c7. Just in general, white has all these infiltrating moves. So you kind of see a ghost here a little bit. So you take on f3, bishop f3, okay? And now bishop f6. His idea is to trade off Hans's bishop in the corner. Hans says, no, thank you. Now knight d6. Now let's take a look at how one guy with a just very small advantage of the bishop pair puts pressure on his opponent, right? His coach is Kramnik. You give Kramnik this position with white, he will turn any opponent with black into borscht or whatever he likes to eat, all right? Knight to a6, rook d1, knight c5, and now bishop a3. And it becomes very quick, very obvious very quickly. There's a lot of pressure on the black position here. A lot of ideas for white to just keep turning the screw. He now has to give up the other bishop. Why? Because after something like rook c3, there's all sorts of knight b5 stuff, right? So that forces white to take on c5, takes, and enter this position. The best thing to do here would have been to play knight to e4, and there was a trick on the rooks there. So we enter this position, and black tries to hold this position. Not so easy. Instead, Tivatkin goes bishop b2 and trades like this, but this is worse. This is worse because now he does not have the knight e4 trick. Knight e4 was a little bit better with this here, but with the rook coming to the c1 square, this hanging, this is a big weakness as you're going to double up. It's just not going to work out. And ultimately, by the way, look at the time. Look at the time. How is Hans up 50 minutes all the time? It's nuts. It's so crazy. Rook c2, g5, and just h3. No back rank problems. Rook is going to c1, or rook is going to d2. This is a weakness. Bishop versus knight doesn't allow the knight into the game very easily. And Hans going to take his time. He takes on c5. Black has a minute, and Hans has 52 minutes. This man, Hans Niemann, in this position, can exit the tournament hall, walk to a kebab spot, get a doner kebab. It's Germany, all right? Get a doner kebab, come back to the playing hall, eat the doner kebab, go out for another one, come back, realize he's thirsty and he forgot to get a drink, go and get a Pilsner, come back and make a move. And I think he would be within the rules. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have a rule against leaving, but this is a ridiculous time discrepancy. Now let's watch him win the game. He picks up a second pawn. He's going to pick up more. And ultimately, he puts the bishop out in the center, and there's just nothing black can do. Absolutely nothing. Hans will now advance. Look at how the bishop completely dominates the knight, by the way. The knight has no moves. Hans is now up 3 pawns. Black tries to go running with the king. And Hans gets it done. Bishop f7 incoming. 2 out of 2. As we speak, he's playing his third game. But I have to record this recap and then leave. But I will cover the entire tournament. I mean, if you want me to. Now, again, let's see how Hans played with white. And then let's see how Magnus and his opponent played. All right, c4, b6. This one a little bit different. In this one, neither guy moved the d-pawn. So this is the last game of this recap. It's going to be Finek, 2,500 rated international master, by the way. From by the way, you guys told me I was saying the name of, I was saying Czechia wrong. My whole life I thought it was Czechia. I'm not even joking. And then I see all these comments like, oh, it's so embarrassing. He's having an event in Prague and he doesn't know how to say. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea it was pronounced Czechia. Maybe it's because I'm a dumb American. Well, that's kind of like obvious, but I know how to pronounce most countries. I had no idea. Listen, sorry. All right. I'm doing my best. I try to pronounce everybody's name correctly from where it's supposed to be, but some do trip me up. Anyway, there's d4 finally. And the structure in this game is very quickly looking like it's going to become a similar one. But Magnus understands that he can't go trading all these pieces. So he keeps a level of tension in this game. And again, at some point, this might get traded. There it is. So we have the same structure, as this position. It's BE, right, versus BE. C and D are both gone. The difference is, in this game, the queens came off the board very early. In this game, the queens are still on the board. These queens are not going to get traded. I mean, that's just simply not going to happen. Magnus doesn't really want the draw. Now, we saw how Hans won the game with the symmetrical structure, but that was because Black really overcommitted and gave away the bishop. How is Magnus going to win this position? Totally equal position against the person who is not just going to like poop himself at the board, right? Good player. All right, let's see. A6, A4, right? You don't want B5 to happen. You control B4 square. Bishop B7. Okay, Rook D1. Knight back to F8. Totally symmetrical position. Just like the Hans game, only this time there are more pieces on the board. Okay. White plays G3. That's definitely a logical move. Maybe E4 on the cards because you defend the F4 square. Fantastic. Knight to G6. Now, here, the move H4, H5 is actually begging to be played. A same-side attack, restricting the knight, and a very typical idea because this bishop is here. Will White find it? No. I actually think if, like, White was playing me, if Vaclav was playing me, there is a chance that he would just go, but okay, it's not too late. H6. Magnus is kind of provoking H4, but at least now you're not going to get your pawn all the way to the H6 square. All right, Bishop B2. These moves, like Bishop G2 and Bishop B2, these are waiting moves. These are moves you play because you don't have another move. You don't want to commit something. You want to let Magnus come to you. Magnus will not, right? He's also he's offering the bishop trade. His opponent does it and plays Queen F3. This is very, very much the way you play when you are playing a very good player and you don't want to touch anything, all right? You just like, all right, I'm going to trade the queens. Like, let's keep it nice and chill. Now, the next move that comes in, this might shock you completely. The next move that comes in on this board is the beginning of the end. You might sit there going, I don't understand. It's minus 0.3. Okay, it was just zeros the entire game. What do you mean the beginning of the end? These last few moves, Bishop G2, Bishop B2, trading, Queen F3, this is the beginning of the end. There is a switch that flips in people's heads when they play really, really, really good players. You experience it too. You play somebody 300-400 points higher than you. You get 20 moves into the game, subliminal, like, you're happy. You're just like, okay, I did it. Like, I survived. Like, let's just keep it chill. Let's not do anything. Black goes Rook D5. Rook D5 is that moment where you realize, oh, this is going to be a long game. Opponent blocks the queen trade, and now you're very quickly running out of obvious moves. Very quickly. You don't have another way now to just do nothing. A do nothing move here is King G2. But already, White breaks the symmetry, right? White breaks the, he spent 15 minutes on the next move because he didn't know what to do. I get it. I totally get it. King G2 defending the queen. He goes here. The second you give Magnus a chance, 20 moves into the game, B5 is on the board. The second you gave him a chance, B5 is the best move. White takes, goes back again. The best move was maybe coming here, trying to throw off the coordination a little bit. Probably he didn't know what to do next. Yeah, I know, it's not so simple. Maybe you have to go knight C6. There's nothing inherently wrong with knight D2, but you see You see what I'm saying, right? Magnus, best move again. Trading. Imbalance has been created. He now trades the bishop for the knight. I mean, you look at the position, you go, what is he doing? Why would he give White such a powerful piece? E5. Now Magnus's piece coordination is growing. White weakened his light squares a long time ago, and now White had to trade the light square bishop. And now this bishop is getting kicked back down the diagonal, right? And is blocked. And now Rook D8. Magnus declining a queen trade, declining a rook trade, trading on his terms, and the rooks are putting pressure on the knight and the rook. Now here with White, what you desperately want is to move the knight and have your opponent take, and then go here, and that's actually a terrible move because you would win a pawn. Let's say Queen D7, and then take, and this is a draw because you have all the same pawns, knight and bishop, knight, draw. But it's not going to be a draw because he is going to trade on his own terms. Right? Knight F3. Magnus is like, oh, you want to trade? That's really funny, but I want you to take my rook. And then when you take my rook, I would like to put my queen in the middle where it defends everything and puts pressure on you. So Magnus plays knight E4. an improving move. Also, idea in the long run to play f6. Very important move because you secure all the dark square complex and you build a brick wall against this bishop. This is where you feel like you are drowning. You have 1 minute and 57 seconds. The position was so great. 17 moves into the game, you were already thinking of being featured in the Gotham video. I made a draw against the best player in the world. Position was equal. It was good. Now, all of a sudden, 94 is on the board. It's 157 to 16 minutes. By the way, Hans would have had a 50-minute time advantage. Magnus, play a little bit faster, please. Knight to e4, h4, but you should have played that move ages ago. Now you've destabilized your position a little bit more. Magnus plays f6. What do you do now? Do you play h5? The pawn might be a weakness here. What do? You play queen c2. Now here comes the knight. It's coming back. Structure has been created. The knight is coming to cover the light squares. You play rook takes d5 because what else do? Magnus improves again. What do you do now? You can't move your bishop anywhere. Do you find the most clutch move in the position, knight to e1? No. You go for a queen trade. But guess what? White has been trying to... Look at this irony. White has been trying to trade pieces and do nothing the entire game. That's an over-exaggeration. I'm not minimizing this very, very good player's strategy to that. I'm just saying, you play queen c6 because you're like, I want to trade the queens. I want to activate my rook. You know what the irony is? After rejecting your trades like the entire game, Magnus accepts. Because after this, you have no way to defend your pawn. You thought you would just move it, right? You thought like this. No, rook b3. So finally he accepts. Now you are a pawn down in an endgame against Magnus Carlsen with 48 seconds on the clock. You might as well join Hans on that walk to the doner kebab and just let your clock run out. Okay? Rook c2, knight e6, knight c5, removes the bishop. By the way, how amazing is it? Magnus chose an opponent's piece and basically rendered it useless. I have made a lot of videos on this channel about Magnus and how he completely neutralizes really, really good opponents. This is just kind of a microcosm of that. There is a level of the Magnus effect here where, you know, he just kind of freezes people, but yeah, just absolutely absurd. 97% game for Magnus. Hans also won his game, by the way, 97%, but his opponent did make it a little bit easier for him. Both guys on 2 out of 2. We will see if they play against each other. Crazy to see Hans Niemann returning. No context provided, no updates. Didn't play the freestyle event in Paris, but now he's playing here. The saga of Hans Niemann continues. The story, the drama, the intrigue. People are fascinated by this guy. And they're playing in, you know, the biggest tournament, I think, ever, like in the world. I mean, there are thousands of people there in Karlsruhe. Yeah, very cool to see. More updates coming. And get a ticket for the European event. If you haven't yet, VIP tickets are almost gone in every venue. When you get a VIP ticket, you get to show up early, have a meet and greet with me. You might win a raffle to play me in a Blitz game. I'll sign anything that you bring. We'll take a picture together. We'll talk about Magnus and Hans, because fans love to ask me about Magnus and Hans. Yeah, enjoy the show and get out of here.